You expect us to skip the wedding just to clap for your little certificate? My father's voice echoed through the hallway that morning. Loud, dismissive, laced with that sharp smirk he always wore when I asked for anything that didn't involve my brother. I had pressed my black gown, placed the cap on the dresser, and even left 2 extra seats in the front row for them. Just in case. They never came. Hi everyone. My name is Savannah Lee, I'm 26. And today was supposed to be the proudest moment of my life. Until the only people I wanted to see in the crowd decided my brother's wedding buffet mattered more than my degree. Have you ever achieved something no one cared to witness? Because that silence, it's louder than applause could ever be. The ceremony moved on. The dean smiled. My name was called. I walked across the stage slowly, scanning every face in the audience. Not for cheers but for that one glance of recognition. But all I saw was strangers. I shook hands, posed for the camera, and held the diploma holder like it was proof I mattered. But it was empty. Just a leather-bound folder with a university seal and a cold silence inside. Until I got home. When I opened it at last, something slipped out, an envelope tucked behind the flap. No logo. No name. Just thick ivory paper sealed with wax. And before I could even breathe, BZZ, BZZ, BZZ. My phone lit up on the table. 51 missed calls. All from family. I hadn't even read the letter yet. But whatever was inside had already changed everything. Because now they were all calling. Too late. And whatever storm they were running from, it was already at my doorstep. I held the envelope like it might burn me. No return address. No handwriting. Just that elegant wax seal, deep crimson, pressed with a strange symbol I'd never seen before. It felt out of place, like a message from another life. I peeled the seal slowly, careful not to tear the paper. Inside was a single sheet, thick like cardstock and typed in clean black ink. To the rightful recipient. Congratulations. You have completed more than a degree. You've proven yourself worthy. Enclosed is the key to the truth your family never wanted you to know. Look beneath the floorboards in your childhood room. 3rd panel from the closet. And Savannah, do not tell anyone. Especially not them. My hands started to tremble. I looked at the time, 4:47 p.m. The wedding ceremony would have just ended. Pictures, laughter, champagne. All while I stood here reading a message that smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. And betrayal. My phone buzzed again. Savannah. We need to talk. Now. Dad, call me back immediately. Aunt Carla, don't open anything. Please. That one made my breath catch. How did she know? I didn't respond. I grabbed my keys, tossed on a hoodie, and headed to the house I hadn't entered in years. The one they moved out of and kept locked up like a tomb after my brother's engagement. It was still there. Dusty. Quiet. The mailbox stuffed with junk and fake holiday postcards. I let myself in with the old hidden key behind the drain pipe. No one had been here in months. Upstairs, my room was still pink and blue, frozen in time. Posters peeling. Books tilted. That weird creak near the closet still moaned when I stepped on it. 3rd panel from the closet. I knelt. My fingers pried the wood. It lifted clean. And beneath it was a metal box. Inside. Not money. Not photos. Documents. A deed. And a note written in my grandfather's shaky cursive. This home and the account tied to it belonged to Savannah Lee only. Do not trust your father with this. He betrayed the agreement. I stared at the old paper. The legal stamp. The bank routing number. And in that moment something inside me turned ice cold. They skipped my ceremony. Because they thought I'd never find out I own everything they've built their lives around. I sat there on the floor, my old bedsheets covered in dust, the box open like a casket, exposing the truth they had buried. The deed was real. The bank documents were real. The signatures, dates, all in order. My grandfather, the only man who ever believed in me, had left everything to me. Quietly. Wiggly. And they knew. That's why they skipped my graduation. That's why Aunt Carla begged me not to open anything. That's why suddenly I wasn't invisible anymore. Downstairs the old landline rang. Not my cell. The dusty beige phone mounted near the kitchen, the one that hadn't rung since Dad moved out. I hesitated. Picked up. Savannah. The voice was unfamiliar. Male. Calm. Measured. You don't know me, but I was asked to watch over that property in case the letter ever reached you. I was at your ceremony today. Back row. Black suit. They never saw me. My throat went dry. Who are you? He paused. Someone your grandfather trusted more than his own son. The line went dead. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, heart hammering. Someone had been there, watching me walk across that stage alone. And now watching the house. My phone buzzed again. This time a voice message from Dad. Savannah. This is serious. You need to give that envelope to me. You don't understand what you found. That house is part of an agreement, and you are not supposed to be involved. Do not go digging into the past. Call me. The way he said give it to me made my stomach turn. Not let's talk. Not what did you find. Just give. Like it was his. I sat down at the kitchen table, the one Mom used to make cookies on back when things felt normal. I unfolded the deed again. The property had been transferred quietly, 6 weeks before Grandpa died. 2 weeks after my brother's engagement party. No one ever told me he was sick. No one invited me to the funeral. Because they were hiding this. They'd erased me from the story. But the ink on this paper said otherwise. And now that I knew, they were scrambling. Too late. Because I wasn't the same girl who used to ask for permission to speak. Now I had the power. And they knew it. That night I didn't go home. I stayed in my old room, the one they forgot to clear out, the one that still smelled faintly of rosewater and schoolbooks. I curled up on the mattress with the deed beside me like armor. I didn't cry. Not anymore. By morning my phone was a war zone. 14 new voicemails. 23 unread texts. But the one that stood out was from my cousin Lila. Save, you need to know something. There was a family meeting after Grandpa passed. You weren't invited. Your dad made everyone swear not to mention you. He said she's out, she made her choice. I thought you knew. My choice? You mean, choosing education over pretending to be part of their perfect family tree? I remembered sitting alone in my dorm room the night of my brother's engagement party, staring at the RSVP on my phone. I never clicked. No one even followed up. No one cared. They never said it out loud, but I knew I was the extra piece. The girl who didn't fit the mold. Who didn't need anyone to get where she was going. Around noon I got a text from an unknown number. A picture. It was my brother standing at the altar mid-vow, smiling. Behind him, blurred but visible, my father. Slipping something into a pocket. I zoomed in. It was the same wax-sealed envelope. My chest tightened. They had it. They tried to hide it. But somehow, someone got it back to me. Someone wanted me to know the truth. And someone inside that wedding wasn't playing for their team. I stood, walked to the garage and flipped the breaker on the fuse box. The house hummed to life. Then I opened the locked cabinet above the washer. The one I used to sneak into as a kid. Inside were Dad's old binders. The family trust documents. Tax folders. Letters. Buried in the back was a folder labeled Contingency Plan. Oh, my initials. Inside, typed in my father's brutal precision, was a plan to contest the will if I ever found it. Pre-written affidavits. Fake timelines. False statements about my mental state. He planned to erase me again, legally this time. But now I had proof. Proof of the theft. The why. The erasure. And suddenly their missed calls weren't panic. They were desperation. Because the girl they pushed aside, she just became the biggest threat to everything they'd built. By the time I stepped into the lawyer's office, the receptionist already knew my name. You must be Miss Lee. He's been expecting you. That sentence alone made my stomach twist. Because no one ever expected me. I was the forgotten daughter. The quiet one. The background character in my family's legacy drama. But not today. Mr. Howard looked exactly like the kind of man Grandpa would trust. Old school, tailored vest, heavy wooden desk, eyes that studied you like he already knew what you were going to say. He didn't ask me why I was there. He simply slid a folder across the table. Your grandfather instructed me to wait until you received the envelope. The fact that you're here means the game has already started. I opened the folder. Inside, court filings. A trust deed. Power of attorney forms. Already signed. Already dated. Already activated. I blinked. Wait, this is active? He nodded. As of last week. Once your graduation was confirmed, Everything triggered. Your grandfather set this up so the final pieces would align when you officially became who he knew you were capable of becoming. My hand hovered over the final page. It was a court summons, addressed to my father and my brother. Hearing date, next Friday. Charge, fraudulent concealment of inheritance and breach of family trust. I felt like the air had shifted around me, like I was watching my life crack open from the inside. Back at the house I waited. And they came. Black SUV. Screeching tires. My father's angry fists pounding on the front door. You think this is funny? You think you can just walk in and take everything because of some dusty old paper? I opened the door slowly. Come. I didn't take anything. I received what was mine. His face twisted. You don't understand what you're doing. I stepped aside, revealing the camera in the corner of the hallway, the one blinking red. You're on record now. And this house is under court protection. Behind him, my brother looked pale, confused. He stepped forward, holding something in his hand. The other envelope, unopened. Savannah, what's really going on? I didn't answer, because it was too late for explanations. Now I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the storm they couldn't stop. And in 1 week, everything would be exposed. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined. Wooden pews. A single aisle. The faint buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. But the tension? It was crushing. Dad sat at the defendant's table in his navy blue suit, lips pressed tight, hands shaking in fists on the table. My brother beside him, eyes darting, unsure if he was angry or afraid. I wore the same outfit I'd worn to my graduation. It felt symbolic. The day they skipped was now the day they'd have to answer for. My lawyer, a sharp, unshakable woman named Marlene, opened the file. Your Honor, we are submitting evidence of an intentional concealment of inheritance documents, manipulation of trust property, and premeditated attempts to declare my client unfit in order to bypass her legal rights. She dropped a copy of the contingency plan whole folder on the bench. The judge raised an eyebrow. Is this your handwriting, Mr. Lee? My father didn't speak. Mr. Lee. He finally muttered, I was protecting my son's future. The courtroom went still. So you erased your daughter? Marlene asked. You faked affidavits to block her out of a legal inheritance? He turned red, stuttered, reached for water he didn't drink. Then came the twist. From the back row a figure stood, a man in a black suit. The one from my ceremony. He approached the bench with a confident nod. Your Honor, I have a signed statement from Everett James Lee, Savannah's grandfather. I was his financial advisor and legal witness. He handed over the document. A notarized letter. If my family attempts to silence Savannah again, I ask the court to treat that act as legal betrayal. She is the rightful heir. She earned that degree without help, and deserves the legacy I've built. There was a gasp. In the defendant's row, Mom clutched her chest. My brother lowered his head. But my father, he just stared at me. For the first time, not with anger. With fear. The judge turned. Ms. Lee, do you have anything to say before we recess for judgment? I stood. Calm. Steady. Only that I didn't come here to ruin them. I came here because they erased me. I won't be invisible anymore. And as I sat back down, the courtroom lights buzzed louder. The truth was out. The documents were real. The witnesses were speaking. And their empire of silence had finally collapsed. The verdict room was cold. Not physically but emotionally, spiritually. Like the walls had absorbed the lies over the years and now refused to echo them back. We stood as the judge returned. The clerk read the ruling line by line. My father's face turned paler with each word. The court finds overwhelming evidence of inheritance concealment, premeditated fraud and willful manipulation of legal documents intended to disinherit the rightful heir, Miss Savannah Lee. My mother reached for my father's hand. He pulled away. Effective immediately, the judge continued, all assets tied to the estate of Everett James Lee are to be released to Miss Savannah Lee as stipulated in the original trust. Furthermore, any financial transfers or modifications made after Mr. Lee's passing are hereby nullified. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just closed my eyes and exhaled. Not out of joy, but relief. As we walked out, reporters gathered like vultures. Savannah. How does it feel to win against your own family? I didn't answer. Because this wasn't a victory parade. It was a funeral for every version of myself I had to bury just to be heard. Outside the courthouse, my brother approached. Alone. Savannah. I didn't know everything. I swear. I thought you walked away from us. I looked at him. Really looked. For once, not with pain. Just quiet knowing. You never asked why. You just believed what was easier. He blinked. So what now? You're rich and we're not. I paused. No. I'm free. And you're still blaming the wrong things. He didn't respond. He just turned, shoulders hunched, walking back to the family that once feasted off my silence. That night I returned to the house. Mine now, legally, spiritually, finally. I walked room to room in silence. And in my old bedroom, I opened the last drawer of the desk Grandpa had given me. Taped to the bottom was one final note, written in his careful hand. They'll never understand the weight of silence. But you. He turned it into strength. I always knew. I pressed the paper to my chest. As for once, I believed it too. The front gate squeaked when I unlocked it that morning. It used to be the sound I dreaded, the metallic moan that signaled someone was home. Now it was mine. And only mine. I had the house rekeyed the day after the verdict. No more hidden keys behind drain pipes. No more secret copies in Dad's drawer. What was once theirs, emotionally, legally, generationally, was no longer. I spent the next few days restoring the home. Not with new furniture or expensive chandeliers, but with moments. Fresh flowers on the table. My graduation robe hung near the window, the sun hitting its folds just right. A single photo of me and Grandpa on the mantel. That was enough. I didn't need portraits of the people who once ignored me. Their silence had decorated these walls long enough. One evening, as dusk settled in and the sky turned that soft bruised violet, I heard it. A knock. Not frantic. Not aggressive. Just familiar. I opened the door. There stood my mother. No makeup. Wrinkled blouse. A different kind of sadness in her eyes. Not panic, not entitlement. Something closer to regret. "Savannah," she whispered. "Can I come in?" I didn't speak. Just leaned on the doorframe. "We made mistakes," she said. "But you've made your point. Haven't you?" I looked at her, really looked. The woman who watched me grow but never clapped, never stood, never shielded me. I spoke gently. "The point wasn't to hurt you. The point was that you never thought I'd get this far." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "Mom," I said softly, "this house is built on memory. The kind that nearly broke me. And the kind that saved me." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "Then I guess this isn't my place anymore." I didn't answer. She turned, walked down the porch, past the old rose bush Grandpa planted. I watched until she disappeared. I closed the door. Locked it. And for the first time it felt like home. Not a place I inherited. A place I reclaimed.